Listen, thank y'all very much for coming out. I think everybody here, I want to thank one person. Where's Jason? Where is he? He was over there a second ago. I don't know. Thank y'all for coming. Thank him for sticking with this. This is an event that almost didn't happen about 3 or 4 different times. And I think it's a testament to everybody who really believes in why we're here today that it's happening. So let's thank Jason. Give him a round of applause. All right, look, I'm not going to talk very long. I do want to talk about something that's relatively important. And it's a strange thing to ask people who've gone through such difficulty to get here. I'm going to ask you what might be a strange question, which is, are you really ready for what we need to do for the next 66 days? Because it's not going to be easy. Before you say yes, everyone's going to say, oh, yes, sure, I'm ready. I want you to think about what that means. This nation is desperate for real leadership. This nation is desperate for a real discussion about difficult issues. It is not easy to lead. It is not easy to talk about difficult issues, but we are going to have to do it in order to save this nation. So I ask you, when you go next year and in the next 65 days and you're talking to your independent voter friends and you say, look, I just don't think we can do any more bailouts. And they look at you and they say, now wait a second, now President Obama saved GM. Are you ready to have that conversation? Are you able to have that conversation? Able to look them back in the eye and say, now wait a second, hold on a second. Chrysler and GM both went bankrupt after the government bailed them out, and be able to explain to them why bailouts are bad. When they say, look, we don't like any stimulus anymore, we don't want to do that again, and they look you in the eye and say, what you want to do is you want to fire teachers and policemen? Are you ready to have that conversation? And you're able to look at these people again and say, now wait a second, the stimulus didn't create any jobs, and the jobs it saved cost about $200,000 apiece. People are ready to have that discussion, but we have to be willing to stand up and have those difficult discussions. When you say, I want to roll back these job-killing environmental regulations, they're going to look at you and say, so what you want is you want dirty air and you want poisoned water. Are you ready to have that conversation, able to look them back and say, look, what the president wants to do isn't going to keep the air any cleaner, isn't going to get the water any cleaner, and it's going to put 7,000 South Carolinians out of work on day one. That's the conversation we have to have. When you sit to them and you go and you say, look, I really think we need to look at entitlements. I think if we're going to balance the budget, and make one thing perfectly clear, if we are ever going to balance the budget, we have to address entitlements. Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. We spent $4 trillion last year. The budget committee that I work on only spent $1 trillion of that. The rest of it was entitlement spending, automatic spending, Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. Until we address that, we will never balance the federal budget. Are you ready to have the conversation when the Democrats look at you and say, so what you want to do is push Granny over a cliff in a wheelchair, like they showed Paul Ryan doing in their television ads? When you look at them, are you ready to say, look, all we're asking is folks who are maybe 59 years old to work 2 more months? Or maybe if you make $1 million, you're not going to get as much Social Security as you used to in the past. Are you ready to have that difficult conversation? The country's ready for us to have it. The country desperately needs us to have it. The country needs competence. We have been led for too long by a superstar celebrity who doesn't have any clues to how to fix this nation. That's where we've been for the last 4 years. We need leadership. The country is ready for leadership. The top of our ticket is ready to do that. I think if Mitt Romney's selection of Paul Ryan signals one thing, it's that we are ready to have the conversations on the tough issues. You heard Paul Ryan say it in Tampa. We welcome this discussion on entitlements. We want to have the discussion on entitlements because the country needs to have the discussion about entitlements. And we don't have a lot of time left to do it. The question is, are we ready to do it? Because it's not hard. It's not easy. It is not easy to be conservative. It's not easy to go up against the emotional arguments that the left offers. We have to be ready. We have to have the courage of our convictions to look people in the eye and say, here's why the conservative way is the right way. And if we're able to do that, I think we win in November. And if we're able to do that, I think we fix the country in November. The next worst thing to winning or losing would be winning and not telling people what we're going to do. We have to be honest with people. We have to be straightforward with people. We have to speak to the American people like they are adults because they are ready for that, and they are sick of politicians who've spoken to them like children for the last 30 years. That's what our party represents this year, and if we're able to do that, and if you're able to do that, we win in November, we save the country. Thanks very much again for having me. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Jason. Y'all have a great night. I'm going to go cook my wife's 50th birthday dinner.